a lot of new cyclists, that's what scares them, right? Is
Sure.
like they know that they're small and they're afraid to like hold their position on the road. They don't want to ever get stuck in those sorts of situations. And I think like with that you just need more mileage, and once you like get into that like groove, you'll feel more comfortable taking up space on the road, taking up a whole lane. You know, like I definitely have a lot of friends that are, you know, nervous to take a whole lane, but it's like if you've got the numbers, or you are simply riding as you are normally riding, and it is safe for them to just pass around you anyway.
That confidence bleeds into every other part of your life too. When you have the confidence to to take a lane,
yeah,
right, and I mean, that's so much character building. That's amazing. Eric, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Victor.
It's always a pleasure. I feel like you're my brother from another mother, doppelganger. I'm trying to grow the luscious locks again. I just got to take care of it. You are taking care of yours. Your mane.
I gotta go get it trimmed. I actually still haven't gotten it trimmed since I started growing out.
When during the awkward phase, was it just a lot of hats, or what'd you do?
So I was really lucky because I didn't have to see anyone. It was COVID, and we were like locked down. But yeah, I guess so. It was a lot of hats. It didn't really feel that awkward this time around because I've definitely tried it multiple times.
Okay.
And given up. Just like I was like, all right, cutting it like I think like I was like right here at some points, and then just like I was like, all right, chopped it off.
Okay.
But yeah, there was no one to see, and then I just had no, or my barber had also moved out of town, and so I was like, all right, well, there's no point in trying to find someone now in the middle of lockdown, so I'm just gonna continue doing this, I guess. And
is there any part of you that just wants to buzz it off too?
Certainly, like on days when it's like, so if I go like mountain biking or something like that, and it's like real dusty out, and then I come home, I can't wash my hair if there's no oil in it, or if it's too oily, right?
Like you don't use products in it?
So I don't use products. What I mean to say is like, yeah, if like there's not enough oil on that specific day, it's just dusty.
Really?
I just have to just wash it.
Doesn't it get oily? You wear a helmet, right? Like doesn't it get oily after wearing a helmet?
If I had washed it the day before, not really.
Oh,
yeah, because
okay.
it takes a little bit for my.
Because it's so long.
Yeah.
So then, how many days? Once a week? Once every 2 days?
Like every 3 days.
3 days.
Every 3 days.
I'll keep
2,
that in
3
mind.
days.
Okay.
I mean, some people do no shampoo at this length too. So I'm
Really?
like, yeah, I've done like the research because I'm always scared about like, you know, drying out your scalp and doing this and doing that. Like it took me a while before I you know, like everyone had the days where they like wash their hair every day with soap and shampoo. And
Yeah. Growing up, I had maybe like in the late teens, early 20s, like pretty oily skin. So like it's just prone to acne. We don't want to strip away like the natural oils and all that.
Right. No.
Well, Eric, I brought you on years ago. You helped me get a bike.
Yeah.
Are you still there? You're still at the bike lane?
At the bike lane.
Amazing. In Logan.
Yep.
Okay. And then you also helped me discover it's called Marin, right? Not Marin County,
bikes.
right? Yeah. And so how would you call yourself in the world of like biking or cycling? Like an enthusiast, a hobbyist, a professional, like, because I see some of and you're a photographer too, so like I see some of those pictures and how crispy some of those pictures look at that speed. It's great. I mean, I'm always worried about nailing focus, and you nail focus.
Oh yeah. So to answer the first question, I would say like I guess I'm an enthusiast.
Okay.
So I like riding bikes. I don't particularly like race for podiums or anything like that.
Okay.
But I do like to go and compete every so now and again. It is very, very fun. But outside of like just competing, you know, I also like going on bike rides with friends, going to like the bike park, enjoying myself, building on like skills. Certainly like when I first started, it was like a means of like hanging out with friends and expressing myself. I think I started in high school.
How so? What do you mean?
So like when we first started riding bikes, it was we started with getting into fixies. So everybody knows like the fixie, right? Like you get this thing in like college or whatever. Like it's like a single speed. There's no brakes or whatever. But one of the best things about like fixed gear bikes or like things like that is that you can really customize them to your liking. You know,
more so than what's the other one?
Like road bikes and mountain bikes.
Bike,
it can more
customizable.
It's got a low cost barrier of entry.
Okay.
So like parts are pretty cheap. Like you don't have to worry about components like gears or like derailleurs, shifters, that sort of
Okay.
thing. So it cuts down to just like handlebars, wheels, a frame set, cranks, like all of it you can like kind of like piece together for maybe like, I mean, like $300-$400 now, like, you know,
Wow.
I mean, and that's like the price of like a new bike, but you can definitely price it down even lower if
Sure.
if you're like really looking for parts. But I mean, that's what it was like, you know, it's just hanging out with friends, looking at stuff online. I guess it would be like the precursor to like kids that get into cars and stuff like that.
Which
but-
you're also into.
yeah.
So would you compare a fixie bike to like a manual car?
I mean, I guess like you could
people say you feel more grounded,
um
more connected, right?
yeah, like it's a more pure experience
Pure.
because you can't stop pedaling, right? Like
Yeah.
you just keep
So is there a
going.
certain point where you're going, you can't go too fast?
Um
Or does the bike eventually take over if you're going downhill? Like, how does that work?
yeah, like you can definitely like overspin, like you
Ooh.
can't, like if you like can't control how fast the wheels are. Some people like slip their feet out of the pedals and then they like
Just
let the bike
coast?
just
Okay.
yeah, there are like a bunch of videos like people like going downhill, doing stuff like that, crazy stuff in like what is it, San Francisco and in
Oh my
and
God.
they're,
Bombing
like-
down the mountains.
Yeah, one of the videos that we used to watch, you know, Mash SF, like Macaframa, these are like really like specific period of time in like fixed gear, fixie culture, history, and like we kind of all grew up right around that time, like a little bit after it all happened, but we were still like had access to it, and so when we were all watching it as kids, we were like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Okay.
And it's just like bikes look cool, you know, like the aesthetic of
Is
them.
the fixie thing still a big part of the culture these days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a really, I think like, you know, when you're young and you want to find ways to express yourself and
Mhm.
like, you know, you can also do it through an activity. Like, you know, there are kids that are like really into hype
Like
clothes.
skateboarding or
Yeah.
Okay, streetwear.
Yeah,
and
streetwear.
bikes.
Yeah.
So, but how do you express yourself through bikes? Is it how you ride? Is it the type of biking you do? Whether it's like city biking or mountain biking or park, like how does one express themselves through the language of bikes?
I think it's like clothes, right? It's just a style thing at the
Yeah.
end of the day. I think with all like these like freestyle sports or like these trick sports, there are always like different ways you can approach it. You can always approach a trick differently, or you can always like skid differently. You know, there are always these like performances that certain athletes do, right? Like the fadeaways, right? That certain basketball players can do. Like that's like, whoa, you see that and you're like, that is such a cool trick, or that's such a cool style. Like
Yeah,
that's their
yeah.
signature thing. Like
Okay.
and like some kids, you know, like they have an eye for that thing. Like they develop it. They like look at stars and then they look at themselves and they
Yeah.
like kind of reflect that. That's really cool, you know.
But would you consider is there any part of biking culture that is mainstream?
yeah,
I guess Lance Armstrong, right?
I
But like
think
right now, like F1 is coming up
Yeah.
because like they're just trying to. I think their marketing has been like great recently, and they're just
Mhm.
trying to get more celebrities on the F1 circuit and like just promote. But is there? I'm sorry, I cut you off. But like anything else besides Lance Armstrong or that has been mainstream?
Yeah, so crit racing in America is what's really
Crit?
popular. Yeah, Criterium Racing.
Ooh, what is that?
So it's like closed course cycling.
Okay.
And it's really fast paced. It happens, generally like hour and a half for some of those pro races.
That's how long it lasts.
Yeah. So they do the first lap, and then the first lap usually determines how many laps goes on for the rest of the race. So the first time, like, so if it's like, you know, 6 minutes for a lap, and then it's, you know, a total of 10 laps.
Okay.
Anyway,
Whatever. So all within an hour. Okay.
all
gotcha.
within an hour and a half,
Gotcha,
depending
gotcha.
on like the timing and whatnot.
Okay.
So that's become really popular in America, right?
Where can one kind of watch that?
I think you can access it on certain live streams. Most racing, I think if you go through like USA Cycling,
Sure.
you should be able to find some more information. I believe GCN Plus, which is Global Cycling Network, they have a like subscription that you can buy a race pass, and you can like watch races live that way.
If one wanted to get into that world, how does one get into it? Is accessibility pretty good?
It depends on like if you're trying to race it or if you're just trying to watch it. Right, watching it, you just got to pay for a subscription, or you can go to like your local race. Getting into it, the barrier can be a little bit high, as like the price of an entry level road bike. Like you can always race on whatever road bike you want, right? Like drop bars just has to have gears. Will you be at a slight mechanical disadvantage? I mean, maybe, but like at the entry level, whatever. However, like going to the store and buying a brand new road bike, though, you're looking at like what, $1,250 now, I think, and that's not terrible, but that is like, I would say, like if you were expecting like, you know, my parents at that at like at an age where I wanted to start racing, like it would be a little bit like, that can be a little steep, like justifying like equipment at that price.
So how does one justify, like how much do they have to love it in order to spend that kind of cash, right?
I think like with a lot of people, like having experienced a lot of like different kind of customers, like usually it's, I started bike riding, I really enjoyed doing it as like a sport or a commute, or like commuting and stuff like that. And then I usually ask like, do you have any interest in bike racing? And they're like, I kind of, yeah, like, you know. So I think it really just starts with enjoying the feeling of riding bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody probably has like a natural instinct to compete at least a little bit. So, you know, if you even edge the ideal a little bit, if they're a little bit more confident, then I think a lot of people are more interested in,
and they're willing to spend the cash,
the sport than.
Because it's your day job, is there any part of you that loses and I don't think so, but like loses the interest to ride for fun? Because like when I used to ride to work, and I don't, you know, I ride to and from work. I wouldn't ride to like the lakefront to just ride for fun, because I'm tired of biking for some reason. But it's probably different DNA in you, maybe.
I think we all get to that point.
Okay.
Like we all, as like cycling employees and whatnot, like get to a point where it's like, you know, this is boring, or like I don't really want to ride my bike because I commute, or it all depends. I think like you know, maybe how long you've been at it, but for sure, if you've done everything around here, you've definitely like want to explore new things. And I think like when you have ridden the lakefront path enough times, like eventually for fun, it's no longer fun anymore. You want to kind of go somewhere a little bit different. So in my experience, like I do get tired of some of the local paths, but at the end of the day, I think
I have no idea. We're good.
But at the end of the day, I think like I still enjoy just like the feeling of like, you know, the wind at my back and going fast and just like turning the pedal sometimes, even if like the destination is nowhere, or even if like,
where are those parks that you go to that you're like full sending off those like little hills and little ramps?
Yeah, so Chicago, the Chicagoland area actually has like a bunch of really good trails.
I was never aware of that.
You know, they're not like, you know, massive trails or anything like that, or like, you know, huge jumps or anything, but it's growing for sure. But the one that I have been going to lately has been Big Marsh. It's down on Stony Island, I think like 100 something in Stony Island. Really, really fun. The trails are super well groomed. The people that are working there really know what they're doing. They have bike rentals. The park is just really, really well kept. They have been having some like bike racing series lately. Short plug. There is a race series that happens every other Wednesday during the summer. Yeah. So you can definitely follow their Instagram for more info on something like that. Friends of Big Marsh, I believe.
Okay.
But it's got like, they've got rentals. You can learn how to bike race, right? You can learn how to do mountain bike racing. And if you don't have a mountain bike, they'll let you borrow one, that sort of thing. And mountain bike racing, like that's one that I would argue is even more expensive to like try to get into, right? Like in terms of like, people get into fixies first and then road bikes. Sure. Mountain bikes are like a whole nother level.
Threshold for adrenaline just like keeps elevating?
It's less so the threshold of adrenaline, but more so just like the cost. Like mountain bikes get
Okay,
real
okay.
pricey for like something that's like.
But it's like the how people kind of gravitate towards that. It's like you eventually want more and more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I think like even if you just gave like what we would consider a normal adrenaline threshold, like someone that just like enjoys leisure, like I think if the resources were available to just like try out, I think we'd be very surprised with how many more people are adrenaline junkies. Right? Like we would I honestly think like you know, if given the correct like setting and everything, more people are inclined to try the thing because they are comfortable. And that's just like it, right? Like you just got to get people comfortable, and once they're there, like you have no idea what they could accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, it's how long did it take for you to start feeling comfortable on like a track like that?
So I've been riding bikes for a while, and I think that helps, right? Like just having the base mileage, right? But I think like pretty quickly, like you get it becomes pretty familiar, right? Like you just build off of like previous experiences. So if you've like done stuff like that before, and you've done like small stuff, right? Like then it just translates to being it's just a little bit bigger. You just gotta go a little bit faster, and you just gotta go to tweak it out a little bit more.
What a metaphor for life. I guess to start to build some credibility, like how long have you been in the industry, and like let's say like how many miles do you think, if you were to guesstimate, you have under your belt? How many bikes do you own? Like that could all add to.
Yeah. So I've been what is it? I guess I've been casually riding bikes since high school. I've been working at this shop for about like five or so years now. Been open for 12 years.
The shop's been open.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you see a spike during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
People were just like, "Yo,
I gotta get me outside."
Yeah. Which is great because I think like, or not, I think rather, it's great because I've seen a lot of those customers return and really tell me about how much they enjoy biking. There are, now that like offices are open and everything, I've had customers that are new customers, right? And they're commuters, and they're telling me like, you know, oh, I used to never commute to work, but now I bike like 3 days out of the week, and those 3 days are like the most refreshing. And I'm like, nice.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. Yes. I'm sure you know people that have even like sold their cars for bikes.
Yeah, I think there have been plenty of people that have like now you know, sold their vehicle, and I've had more customers now with the prices going way and way up. They're like, yeah, I'm so glad I'm riding my bike now. So mileage, I couldn't tell you. I have no clue. I don't keep track of that sort of thing. But bikes, as for how many I own, I probably own like 6 bikes right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no. I think like with like that surge, right? The amount of new people that are getting into bikes, whether it's commuting, trail riding, road riding, you know, whatever you're into, like I think it's really, really great. It's going to encourage people to use their cars less, which means less traffic, you know, and less traffic is just, you know, nicer because then there are even less like accidents that happen.
Yeah. Right? How on a scale like 1 to 10, 10 being the best, the most ideal for a cyclist and a biker, like how conducive is the city for riding a bike?
I think in certain neighborhoods it's definitely better. Having traveled sometimes to the west side, like every so now and again, I do see more and more bike lanes opening up.
How far west? Like Logan West? Or?
Yeah, like 2,000 west. I definitely need to head more into 3,000, 4,000.
Oh, wow.
To really get a scope of it. But
like Cicero, that's the
city is trying. I mean, like that's the city though, right? Like when we think about it, we never really think about like 4,000 as a part of the city. But I have definitely had many friends like when I was in high school and doing the fixie thing, having friends like all over the city. Some friends living in 3,000 west. It's like, shit.
Now you got a bike there.
That's so far. And then but as kids, like that also didn't seem like it was that far at the end of the day. So I mean, yeah, that's still like people that work, you know, in the loop or even closer or
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I think with more people being able to use their bikes, it just encourages like
Yeah.
connection across the city better.
For someone who's starting to ride their bike, like I know people that are just now driving a vehicle for the first time, but you know, if they're riding a bike for the first time, what are some things you recommend to them to remain safe while driving? Like things like keeping an eye on side mirrors or wheels turned to the streets. Like what else, like, if you were to share some advice with people to avoid accidents?
Yeah, I think like just constant spatial aware, like just having good spatial awareness, right? Like making sure you're
Do you wear
checking
do
mirrors.
you listen to music?
Do I listen to music?
Or I guess I see Bluetooth speakers, right? It's
Yeah.
not really headphones.
So it's a mix. You know,
Oh,
some
okay,
people
okay.
some people still use Bluetooth speakers. Some people are avid, like no headphones. You know,
Oh.
some people still use headphones. Some people are double headphones, which I
What do you mean double headphones?
like fucking both earbuds in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you supposed to hear traffic coming if?
No idea.
Okay. So if
yeah.
you want to be safe, you know, just like.
If you want to be the most safe, right? Like definitely don't wear any earbuds. But I get it. We all want to listen to music. I personally do one headphone in.
Okay. Gotcha.
When I used to do speaker, I would always try to do a speaker, but it can get a little cumbersome, you know, carrying a whole bunch of stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then also like noise pollution, that sort of thing. Like if you're riding a long road ride, you don't want to be the one person that's just like in the middle of nowhere, just blasting music, you know.
What else? What should they be keeping an eye on?
I think you were asking about drivers, right? Or
Yeah,
it's
just
like-
in general, safety in general.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So with like drivers, it's just keeping an eye on your side view mirrors, right? Especially if you're turning right, turning left. Turning right, like that's one of the most common ones. Like a right hook is where you just like you pull up to that sign or the light and you just go. And you don't even think twice about it, and like there could be someone in your blind spot, and you never realize.
When you're the driver.
Yeah, when you're the driver, like
Absolutely.
you would be like, it happens
Like
so
coming up behind you.
so often, right? Like
So who's at fault then?
I would definitely say the driver is at fault in
As
a right hook.
As the cyclist,
Yeah.
would you operate in the mindset of expecting people to cut you off?
Yes.
Right?
As
Same as an ambulance operator, same thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like I think that we need to address, I guess.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of drivers don't like hearing this, but like if we are looking at the priority or the right of way, right? It's pedestrians, then cyclists, then vehicles. And so if you're thinking about in a turn, like that's just kind of it. Like, sorry, homie, like. The pedestrian and then the cyclist.
But at the end of the day, if an accident happens, who's gonna win? And I
more often
know
than not,
like legally who's right,
Yeah.
but like bodily, like who's gonna win that, right? Like
Yeah.
so as the cyclist, like yeah, I think it's important to have that foresight of like this guy's not looking for me.
right. I think like a lot of new cyclists, that's what scares them, right? Is
Sure.
like they know that they're small and they're afraid to like hold their position on the road.
Okay.
They don't want to ever get stuck in those sorts of situations. And I think like with that you just need more mileage, and once you like get into that like groove, you'll feel more comfortable taking up space on the road, taking up a whole lane, you know. Like I definitely have a lot of friends that are, you know, nervous to take a whole lane, but it's like if you've got the numbers or you are simply riding as you are normally riding, and it is safe for them to just pass around you anyway.
That confidence bleeds into every other part of your life too. When you have the confidence
yes,
to take a lane,
yeah,
right? And
I
like
mean-
that's so much character building. That's amazing.
I don't know. I think that
And then there's overconfident too, right?
yeah, definitely. Like, you know, you can be an aggressive cyclist, or you could be a very defensive but like confident cyclist, right? If somebody is like double parked in a bicycle lane and you have to move on over, you know, you just give a quick look and then you just move on over, and then you move in, then you move back out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, I think there are a lot of like there's a lot of animosity, right, between drivers and cyclists.
Absolutely.
Because like, oh, like this person's in my way, they're making me like miss this light, that sort of thing.
Right,
And it's like
right.
the cyclist also just wants to, ride their bike, commute the same way. They're also just trying to get out of the way. I think like, we think like, what is it? Cyclists move a certain way in spite of you or something like that. And it's like, but at the end of the day, we're all as humans just trying to get to like our location. We're just trying to get to our next
Just be
destination.
kinder to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard.
We'll
it's,
make it.
It's so hard. It's so hard, like just everyone's on a rush or you just, there's that wall, right, of the doors and the metal and you can't really communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share if like you see, and for someone who's not familiar with cycling, like you see those white bikes everywhere around the city. What do those mean?
So white bikes are going to be ghost bikes.
Ghost bikes.
They are essentially memorials for people that have passed, who were struck by a vehicle, at that intersection, wherever it may be. And so they're just memorials for people that were struck by a vehicle.
And the city just keeps it up.
The city is actually really not happy about those.
Are they trying to take it down?
In some places, yeah, they do.
Really?
In some places, they are really, really good about like just removing stuff. There was a very
there was one. I mean, the most recent one was LST. To me, I mean, yeah.
There have been a couple, yeah, but LSD was, I think, one of the more recent ones that got some attention. There have been two this year. There have been quite a few, and they all really hurt. What is it? There was a messenger that was struck by like I believe a double decker, and
a tour bus.
Yeah. And they were like, the city was really good about taking the wheel, just like a wheel that they would hang up there, and it was on like Michigan Ave.
The city took the wheel.
They took
it down.
Like what is it? People like the workers or whatever, like whoever has to take care of like streets and sanitation, I guess. Like they would just clip the wheel down,
like remove it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I that's not the main takeaway, I guess. Like it's just like there are just so that people know, right, in the places that there are. It does suck like when the city takes them down, but it is important that they are up.
Would you consider the biking community tight-knit?
I think that there are a lot of clubs, that, and I think like when a cyclist does pass, like it does affect everyone equally.
Like that could have been me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Does everybody know each other? No, but like when we like hear about this and there is a memorial ride, you can definitely expect to see like people that you've never met. Yeah, definitely solidarity.
I've only witnessed the naked bike run once. What do you think of those?
Those are fun.
Okay.
I mean, they are for
bike the drive, right? That's another one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say Naked Bike Ride is a advocacy ride for cycling death essentially, or like people that get struck. Yeah, so it's like looking at like how vulnerable you are.
Oh my goodness.
Essentially, but it is also like a good fun time. People like to ride their bike for fun.
Yeah.
Naked.
I feel like that would hurt my bum.
Yeah. But that is the main goal of the ride, right? To show like, this is how vulnerable we feel as cyclists on a vehicle or on the road.
Have you ever experienced accidents?
Yeah, I've been doored. I've definitely been I've been the aggressive cyclist, right? I've been the one that tried to catch a red or tried to catch like the green and missed, but
like T-bone kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like
how badly bruised were you?
I think the worst event that I had was when I got doored, probably, and that was it. Just like bruised really badly.
Is it because you were going too fast? Were you not looking at the side mirrors? Like what happened? Or they weren't paying attention? It's
yeah.
Like,
when you door someone, that is 110% the driver's fault. I don't think like in any case like when you're opening your door in traffic, right? Like, and there's traffic going by, like you're already looking out, like because you don't want to like get your door taken off by a car. So why do you?
But then again, how often do you see people just fling their doors open?
You'd be surprised. It's happened to me twice. So
Wow.
So like, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are for getting doored, but like, I every time I hear about it, it's just the scariest thing.
What's the procedure afterwards? Like, make sure you're okay. Is there damage to you, your bike? Like, maybe damage to their car? Like, what happens?
So when that happens, like, generally speaking, like, you should be calling a police officer,
Okay.
making a police report on the spot, you know,
Gotcha.
getting all of the proper procedures done, making sure that you're safe. You know, you can always call an ambulance if you feel that you need to, that sort of thing. Get the driver's information,
Yeah.
and ultimately you gotta do your stuff so that you can get your bike repaired, essentially, if
That's wild.
your method of transportation.
How do you know, like, if you have, because you work in the industry, but like when I got doored once, I didn't know if they were to give me any money. I had no idea how much, like the bike, the front wheel was like all bent.
Yeah.
Handlebar was crooked. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how much to ask for if I were to ask for any money.
So with something like that,
Or do you just get contact info? And
you get contact info.
Gotcha.
You never want to ask for the money on the spot. You know, you never know what could be wrong with the bike. The bike could be bent, could have frame damage or that sort of thing. You know, what if the bike is totaled? You never know on the spot. So it's always best to bring the bike to a shop, have them do an accident estimate, describe how the accident happened, that sort of thing. With any sort of crash, right? Always describe to the shop how it happened, and then you know, the driver's insurance company should be the one to pay for it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's an accident that they caused.
My friend said that a driver paid out like 10 G's for a bike.
Yeah, if the bike is, like, you know, it's the driver's fault and they total the bike and the bike is worth a lot, that's how much they have
Just
to
got
pay.
a brand new bike. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, he still has like ankle soreness or something like from his accident, right? So,
Right. I mean, and that's money that, I mean, they can't. Are they still paying for? Because if they're not, then
Right.
that's related to the accident, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Any experience with stolen bikes?
At the shop.
Oh no, in general though, like personally, or if you might know someone that have had their bike stolen.
Yeah.
And what's the process of, first, like how to prevent it, and then
Yeah.
second, process to like kind of recover if that's possible.
Yeah, definitely. So stolen bikes are definitely a crime of opportunity. That's just the first thing that I got to tell all customers when they're looking for a lock. People are always looking for like something that's like impossible to get through or something like that. And at the end of the day, if, you know, the thief really, really wants the bike, they're going to go through whatever means necessary to get the bike. You know, people break into garages all the time, steal stuff. You know, if they have however much time that they can have with the lock, it's going to be beatable, right? Like angle grind, like these like giant kryptonite, forget about it, New York locks. They're like, they weigh a ton, and you know.
I mean, people are stealing fucking catalytic converters these days.
Yeah. So ultimately, like, right, like that is the first thing I got to tell you, is that like these are crimes of opportunity. It's more so that it was available. So you just got to make sure that when you're locking up the bike, you're locking it up correctly. So that means like making sure that your frame is locked to the pole, or like frame and wheel is locked to the pole. You can always get extra theft deterrents, so like stuff like wheel locks or like hardware locks, stuff like that, so that when they do bring it to a shop, it becomes a much bigger hassle for them to like get the bike worked on.
Gotcha.
And then it makes it more apparent that the bike was stolen. And in order to prevent, or
What would the shop do? Would the shop like ask deeper questions, or
so if the shop is doing their due diligence, they would definitely check the serial number. And that's how you can really protect yourself, is making sure that when you do buy the bike, or if you buy a bike used, you record the serial number. It's usually found on the underside of the bike, the bottom bracket shell. And once you've got that down and you have that saved away somewhere, as long as you have it registered, through Bike Index, just as like a way to keep track of
national, like, or Chicago thing?
I think it's like a website just across the United States.
Bikeindex.com?
Bikeindex.org.
.org, okay.
Yeah. But Chicago has its own little thing, the Chicago Bike Registry, or Stolen Bike Registry, and you can look up serial numbers that way, and shops can make sure that the bike isn't stolen or something like that. So if you do have a stolen bike and you do have the serial number, that's exactly how you would try to recover
Where
it.
would a thief typically take it though? Because I keep hearing swap meets.
Yeah, flea market,
Flea
swap.
markets.
So the swap is the flea market.
Is there any repercussion for those flea markets or swap markets for reselling stolen bikes?
I don't
Because I feel like, I mean, there's just an incentive to resell it then.
Yeah, so definitely it's just like selling it as quick as you can, but like how can you crack down on that, right?
I don't
Like
know.
how much can you dedicate, how much of the city can dedicate like police force to
I know.
you know,
Yeah.
to be doing like whatever they have to do to make
Do you
sure
know
that,
anyone that have successfully recovered a bike?
yeah, I think I've seen a couple of friends who have seen their bikes being resold on Craigslist,
Oh.
and then contacting the person and then being like, hey, look, I'll just pay for whatever you paid for, or like
Oh.
depending on who they are and stuff like that. There have definitely been people that have been like, no, they've like found some, like they found the third seller or the third, the buyer, right, and they refuse to sell it back to the original owner.
That's so fucked.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild, but I guess material possessions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So when someone is shopping for their first bike, and I mean the bike that I got from you
Mhm.
was the result of my last bike being stolen, right? So
yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
you put wheel locks on mine as well, and outfitted it, to the budget and stuff. So what kind of questions should someone be asking for? Because there are a lot of great bike shops in the city.
Yeah.
So where does, what kind of questions should one ask, or what kind of shop should one look for when they're looking for their first bike?
So I think the first thing that you should be doing when you are looking for your first bike is asking yourself what is the purpose of the bike, right? Like we were talking about, there's so many different kind of bikes out there and so many different options to choose from. If you are commuting, like what kind of seating position do you like? How long is your commute? These are things to take into account. Is your commute like a 2-mile bike ride, or is it a 7-mile bike ride? Could it even be like a 15-mile bike ride? Like what is the how far is it, and how long are you willing to sit in like a more aggressive position or a more relaxed position? These are things that will affect how long it takes you to get there, and then also how comfortable you are on the bike. The difference between like a flat bar bike and a drop bar bike, and how comfortable you are on those. Once you sort of have an idea of what you want to use the bike for, you can always go to the bike shop then, and then let the salesperson know, and they should be equipped to help answer the question or guide you in the right direction of like what kind of bike you want. The best shops will always let you test ride their bikes. Should be a free test ride or something like that. Take it around the block, see how it feels. That's always going to be how you will know, if the bike is for you, if the bike feels right, and that sort of thing. You can never really just look at the bike and be like, this is it. Like, this is going to feel comfortable. Everybody's body is shaped differently. Like, even if you go through the guides and they're like telling you you're a certain size because you're a certain height, you might have longer legs than the next person, or a shorter torso, or vice versa. And the bike that they suggest for you ends up being a bike that is too big or too long, that sort of thing. So have an idea of like what kind of riding you're planning on doing with the bike. Taking the bike out for a test ride, trying and comparing it to a couple of different other brands. When you are trying to shop like a little bit more competitively in terms of pricing, you can always look at the components that the bikes are equipped with, especially if they're equipped with the same components and one brand seems to be more expensive than the other. If you like the ride of the more expensive brand, like you can definitely weigh those options out. Like, is it worth it to spend the extra money because I like the way that it feels more? That sort of thing. Those are some things that I would say would be
that's a good start.
Would be beneficial or would get you started
for the casual rider. Like, what do you think they should be expecting to spend for, like, say, like a few miles commute?
Yeah, so like a lot of people like hybrids, right? A lot of people like hybrids to commute on, especially if their commute's not too long. Something like that. I think a base model you're looking.
When you say hybrid, like the wheels are a little thicker, the seat's more comfortable. What would you mean?
So a hybrid bicycle is going to be somewhere in between like a mountain bike and a road bike. So you're looking at a more upright seating position than the bikes with drop bar handlebars. You're looking at flat bars, right? You won't be in a very upright seating position, but you won't be like very low either. The wheels, the frame is able to accommodate slightly wider tires as well, so it does have the ability to go on like mixed gravel paths or like limestone, that sort of thing. Hybrid bikes are generally built up so that they can sort of cover the most ground. Like if you're also a parent and you want to put a trailer on there, they're generally equipped with enough gears right from the get-go to give you that hauling power, that like low torque. Hybrid bikes, definitely, they start right now, I would say around like 750 or so for like a decent one.
Yeah.
The prices are, since I've been employed essentially at a bike shop and doing the thing, like they definitely have gone up, you know, and it is a little bit more expensive, but that's why I think the used market is always really, really great, especially if you're looking for something, if like that is up out of your price range. Going to places like Working Bikes or Westtown Bikes here in Chicago.
Is Working Bikes a physical location?
Physical location, yeah. They do have an online store, and you can definitely check out their inventory. Yeah. What is it? Working Bikes is on Western. They're a little bit south. I can't remember the cross streets.
Okay.
But then Westtown is on Division and Campbell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I keep thinking of like safety again. So like,
yeah.
Do you know anyone like a victim, like are victims of like potholes?
Yeah, we
The city's notorious for potholes.
Yeah, I mean, like most of the flats, right? They happen because your tire was underinflated and you hit a pothole, or you just hit like a really serious pothole. In terms of people that have like fell victim in terms of breaking something due to a pothole, I don't think so. We recently did have a customer though that did hit a pothole pretty hard and like flip over their bars and everything. Sure. So I think if you're an attentive cyclist, like definitely, but we can't always foresee every single thing, like even as attentive as you are, they can get pretty bad.
What are your thoughts on the divvy bikes? And those scooters are back too.
Yeah. It's more means of alternative transportation, and it's great to discourage driving in vehicles if you have the accessibility to a bike. And like we were saying earlier, right, about mountain biking, and having all of that available so that, you can lower that barrier of entry. Like for most people, if they have like access to a divvy station close to them, by all means use it. Like that is one of the best ways to get like used to riding in the city and riding on the street and that sort of thing. Frankly, the more people that use them, the better, because then like just more people are aware of them. More people then become aware of cyclists, that sort of thing.
Those scooters go fast too.
Those scooters do go fast, yeah.
I can't imagine
the e-bikes go fast.
Are those the black divvies?
The black and the like now the like gray divvies, they have like two versions of e-bikes. They go pretty fast.
What's the difference between the gray and the black one?
I think like the gray ones have like a little bit more like light features and stuff like that.
I do notice them going. They're zipping. They're zipping around.
Oh, they're fast.
So what? They're more prone. So what does that mean? Are they going to take up the actual lane, or they're going to stay in the bike lane? Because I feel like the faster you go, you're more.
They stay in the bike lane.
They stay in the bike lane. You're more prone to accidents.
I think like a lot of people, they ride them to their best ability, right? Like the people that are speeding down the highway, right, like 90 miles an hour, right, like those are not that many when we really think about it, and those are only people that are really, really comfortable with doing something like that. I think people, even though they have the ability to go as fast as they want, they don't always take it all the way up to that speed. Right.
Yeah, as far as e-bikes, I noticed those purple like Getir bikes like are zipping around too.
Yeah, like I think like right, having been like overseas in China when I was visiting my uncle, like seeing that like finally make its way to America.
That was there first.
Well, not like
or
that.
You mean like
just like scooters. Delivery?
Yeah.
Scooter delivery is so like scooters in general, right? Like scooters, motorcycles are significantly more popular.
I noticed it in Taiwan.
Asia.
Yeah, a lot.
They take up less space. They cost
mileage,
less, right? Like
miles per gallon. Yeah.
That's a big thing, right? Like not everyone can afford a car overseas. I think that's something that we as Americans take for granted, right? Is that like everyone has to own a car, whereas like, or you could just buy a scooter. But so like you would see like a lot of like scooter delivery or like bicycle delivery of like meals and stuff like that. Like KFCs would have like their own branded like scooters
Over there.
Yeah.
Oh.
KFCs and like McDonald's and that sort of thing. Like the fast food chains, like they would all have their own branded scooters. Like, come on, dude. But like that's become like really popular in America now, right? Like because of the pandemic, we had all the like deliveries for groceries. Like what is it like that go-kart or something like that, or you can get like Postmates to do stuff like that.
Sure,
like,
sure.
Or like stores now, right, are even offering to like get your groceries
usually
delivered
with
to
the messenger.
you. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's still e-bikes at the end of the day, and as long as the city continues to build up its infrastructure for them, I think that, you know, we will experience, you know, accidents, but that is the learning curve, or that is the growing pains that we will have to go through. But eventually, you know, it will be good, and people will, you know, have different ways of traveling. And I think like the scooters and the bike lanes are totally fine. It's they're not going that much faster anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some intersections, the bike lanes even have their own traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's the way of the future? I mean, it's like why isn't that happening more often everywhere?
I couldn't tell you. I really maybe
Yeah.
like just isn't enough push in certain neighborhoods, right? Definitely that is like always a like local council meeting sort of thing. Like you have to talk to your alderman about it.
Sure.
At my shop that we work at, or that I work at, we already have like some contention about the bike lanes that were recently installed on Milwaukee Avenue.
What's wrong with them?
So we have a lot of businesses that are complaining like there's no more parking for customers, that sort of thing. Like all these bike lanes have taken up the space for parking.
That is right by your area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those new okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. It does take away from parking. So what is the discussion at the shop? Like is there a solution to that?
Yeah, I think
What do they do?
I think if you're a patron of some of those locations, parking is like, yes, that is a little bit more difficult to find. Street parking, I don't think it's quite that hard. If you want to find free parking, like, yeah, it's a little bit harder, but even then, like, it is just a small little bit extra walk. There are so many side streets along Milwaukee that you can still park on, like, along our stretch, right? There is Francis and Rockwell that intersect, or the like cross streets north of us, and we see spots, you know, they're open all day long, that people just aren't using. You know, everyone just wants to park on the main street, and I think that's just not. That's just short-sighted, or, you know, like it's you're just unwilling to even try to like find other means of parking, like other streets, whereas like in Lincoln or in Wicker Park, like you already know that you have to do that. You already know that you have to go on side streets. I don't know. So it's like people are so set up in their older ways of like knowing like, oh, there is going to always be parking here, but they just don't want to live with the growing pains of like having less and less opportunities to park their car. But those like businesses, right, like I don't think that they necessarily need to be car accessible businesses. It's like a lot of the shops that are there are like hairdressers, there's like a hardware shop, there is a jeweler, shoe store, there is several restaurants along the same strip.
Meaning like the car doesn't have to be right there.
Yeah, like I just don't really think that is what is like.
Oh, maybe the cultural shift eventually.
Yeah, stopping like, but ultimately, right? Like I think a lot of people are just like really getting really upset, and I think like the onus isn't on like the bike lane or anything like that. It's just on the person itself, the individual, the customer. It's like the customer has to kind of learn to adapt to that, because like eventually it's just going to continue to happen. And if you as the customer don't want to do that, like I think it's like it's kind of like on you, like as the driver, like you could be going to this place, but because you think that there is no parking, right? Like,
Yeah.
you choose not to. I think that for business owners to blame that is not blaming the customer correctly.
It's increasing the barrier to entry just by a little bit. They have to park a little further.
Yeah.
Right. Or walk or whatever it is. Right. But like, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the coffee shop I used to go to is like all the way up on the north side, and they do have free like street parking right next to it. And if it wasn't there, I mean, it'd be another barrier. It'd be I understand both sides, I guess.
Yeah.
And but like you said, it is up to the driver, and if the driver wants to continue supporting that business, they'll do what it takes to keep supporting them.
Yeah. And I think like I feel like I have to park somewhere else is such a lame excuse. Like it's such a tired excuse, right? Like it's like, homie, like, I'm sorry, your customers just are like either just not that smart, not that motivated. I don't know. Like I feel like that's such a bad excuse.
It's a lazy answer.
So lazy, yeah. So very lazy.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
there are significantly better ways to go about that one.
So what's the discussion in the shop then? Like, are there neighborhood meetings for this, or like
your local like what is it, neighborhood meetings with your alderman and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I believe like people do talk about it. You
Oh.
know, you like, I think we have more power in like voicing about like bike lanes than we think.
Oh.
Right? And it's like just showing up at these like neighborhood meetings and making sure like you're making your voice heard about, you know, how you want the city to treat the roads around you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if you find that bike lanes are important, then, you know, speak out about it. Let your alderman know, let your local community know, because it just helps, right? Like, encourages more people to be active, like, and then if more people are on riding bikes, you know, then there are less people, you know, driving around, and that means less of a reason for you to have to like park at that coffee shop, right? Like, or less people parking at that coffee shop. Because who knows, like, what if like every 2 out of 3 people that were parking at that coffee shop, you know, were just frivolously driving their car when it was actually on the way on a bike, and then like also work is very close and on the way. You know, I just think that if more of us choose like a different method of transportation, then it ultimately makes like the times that we are finally driving like much more fun, like much easier on all of us.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Another way to create kind of a career out of someone's love for biking. I feel like when I first explored this kind of topic, I asked you if you yourself or knew anyone was a messenger. How's that life? Like, how is being a bike messenger? I feel like people can make a career out of it. Is that a thing?
I think so. I think like there are definitely messengers that have turned their careers into like working into the bicycle industry, like have like made their way into the bicycling industry themselves. I don't know. I think you can definitely you know, work as a bike messenger for a very, very long time and you know, have a comfortable living situation, but it is a hard life to live, you know. I don't know, like, in terms of like
how does one get started, I guess? Like, there's companies out there that hire messengers.
Still companies.
What are they typically transporting?
You could be a courier company transporting just documents, paper, or you could be a courier company that does food, strictly food. So some companies like Cut Cats, they are a strictly
Cut Cats.
Yeah, Cut Cats courier company.
Oh.
They're in Chicago. I believe they're strictly food. They are a collective, so it's like a worker-owned company.
Oh.
So you could work for something like that, or you could work for something like, I believe, U.S. Messenger is a documents company. So
that's on the south side right here.
Yeah.
15th and Ashland.
Yeah. U.S. Mess is like their office is right over there.
Gotcha.
And you can, you know, deliver like just strictly documents and like your paper, essentially. That's all you really do. So there are definitely different companies that you can work for, and you can expect different kinds of work out of those two different types of jobs.
Yeah.
is it like the best thing I mean, that's up to you, right? That's up to the individual person. Like, some people like that lifestyle of like not having, very, very strict deadlines, or like having their office be outside all day. Like, that's like a very big appeal.
We're lucky. I mean, some might say they hate the snow in Chicago, but I think a lot of us kind of like the variety. What, out of all seasons, like even during snow, like, is it the wind that's the worst, or is it the rain? Is it snow? Or is it what's the most difficult to ride through?
Personally, for me, I find like, what is it, slush to be the worst.
Ooh.
Like, just when the streets aren't plowed, and like, to go back to like, right, like bike lanes and that sort of thing. Like, it really sucks, like, to go on side streets that like aren't plowed, and like, so you go on one regular lane, like one car lane. And it's like very, very beautiful, but like it's also kind of dangerous, because like there are cars like coming by you, and the bike lane's not plowed, so you have to like get in the way even more. So that's probably like winter probably can probably be one of the worst ones, I would say, especially just because of like accessibility to like clean roads.
I feel like there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, just plow more, just be better at plowing. Like, that's just it, right? Like,
it's like, where does the snow go? And then you got the cars that are parked on the streets, and it's like,
yeah. I think like, yeah, just the city has to be better at. I mean, the city definitely prioritizes certain neighborhoods over others, which is always not the best. So of course, all we can do is hope and continue to do the thing to make sure that our communities are taken care of. So yeah, winter definitely by far probably the worst, but spring can be pretty shitty too. Spring can kind of suck.
With what, the rain or what?
Oh, the rain, yeah, definitely. The rain and like the cold, like, especially this spring. This spring was really bad. I really did not have a good time.
But I noticed you didn't have fenders.
Oh, on my bike ride, yeah. So the bike that I rode today, I mean, I didn't have any fenders, but I do have a bike with fenders.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
I do have a fender bike.
Kind of transitioning to more of your like upbringing and
Sure.
like Asian American experience. Do you growing up in high school and in college, you went to ISU?
Yeah.
Did you think that you'd be working at a bike shop?
Not really.
For this long, at least.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think that I would be working at Bike Lane for as long as I have, but definitely really have enjoyed my time.
That's what. The follow-up question was like, are you fulfilled? Are you happy? Are you content?
Yeah. I definitely enjoy my job.
Is it challenging?
Yeah, in the ways that in terms of like trying to like figure out like what are better products that I can introduce to customers to help make their riding experience better. What are just like easy ways that I can get better ways that I can get customers like used to riding, or new riders to get to riding in the city, like how to break down the barrier of just like getting into bike riding. Like that is definitely a fun challenge or something to try to get over.
Yeah. While you were in college, what did you think you'd be doing? If you thought about it.
Honestly, I kind of had no idea. I was doing I was pursuing becoming a teacher, and then I realized it wasn't for me, and then I sort of like just faffed about until I just got a degree, and then that was it. And then I like came out.
Floated through.
Yeah.
But you got your degree in teaching?
I got my degree in scenic design.
What is that?
That is like in theater.
Oh.
So like set building and that sort of thing.
That's what a tangent. Are you? Is there any part of that right now?
No, I mean I just used to.
But you probably have an eye for design, an eye for aesthetics.
I guess
you take crispy photos.
I try. I just like triangles, Triangles are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely I've always like really liked art and that sort of thing, and design. So it was definitely more natural that once I didn't do theater education, so that was what I was doing initially, was pursuing being a teacher for theater. I then just transitioned to doing scenic design, and then just graduated with something like that.
So even in college, or prior to college, did your parents place heavy expectations on you, like pretty strict expectations on you?
Yeah, it's sort of like an unspoken sort of thing. So my parents own restaurants in Chicago, and so it was almost kind of like not spoken of, but kind of joked about that I would eventually take them over.
Oh.
But there was no real like introduction to that. There was no real like, oh, like
You would just help out here and there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the current consensus? Are you still in line?
No, I don't think so anymore.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have
Oh.
one. I have a sister.
Older or younger?
Older.
Older.
Yeah. Yeah. So currently not anymore. Definitely have voiced them and let them know like this. I'm just not interested in this. I can't do this.
How'd they take it?
I don't think that they're particularly happy with it, but they are at least respecting my wishes and not
Oh.
really like bringing it up anymore.
Well,
So
that's
good.
nice.
Yeah.
Are they doing okay though? Like, are they like as you're growing up and they're seeing that you're doing okay for yourself, you're doing good, and have they come to terms with that?
I think so. I think that your parents always want you to be at your absolute best, right? And so they want me to be even more well taken care of. But they are like okay with at least like knowing that I'm still alive, right? Also, I mean, Asian parents are like hard to read. You never know.
And that's what's frustrating is like, there's a show on Netflix by David Letterman called My Next Guest Is, or Needs No Introduction or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he just interviews celebrities, kind of like his old show on late night. And in the new season, he had Ryan Reynolds come on. And after Ryan Reynolds' father passed away, it's a little frustrating because he really never discovered like, or his father never shared how he felt at certain point in any parts of his life, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like my parents, I resonated with that, and my parents do a good job of telling you what to do at certain points in your life, but they don't tell you how to feel, or like they don't share how they felt in certain points of their life. So, let's say like, over the weekend I got engaged, and it's like, oh guys, I'm going to propose. And they're like, congrats. Or like, that's great. And whereas everyone else is like, how you feeling? How you going to do it? And it's just like, I feel like the conversation just like stops. And I think there could be so much more.
Yeah.
And as the child of that, it's just, you're left wanting more.
Oh, all the time. All the time. No, I know this one really well.
Like you want to be a friend with your parents, right?
Yeah.
And like they just don't give it to you.
Yeah. No, it's really one of the things that I've been at my dinner table, right, that we've been talking about is just like, oh, your hair, right?
Okay.
So
same. They're begging me to cut it.
Yeah, and it's like I'll tell them like I swear to God, like we can't talk about this anymore. Like I really like this length. Can you like enjoy it for what it is? And it's just like,
What do they say? They say what do they say about it that makes them want you to cut it?
I think that like my mom tells me that like it looks like really messy, or it makes you look sloppy.
They would say
that
the same
sort of
thing if you put it up, though.
So that's the thing. Like my mom like really likes when I put it up, but I also
I feel like my parents would still hate me.
Yeah. Either way, I think like regardless, it's just like an easier way for them to like just not have to deal with you having long hair. They just want you to cut it, and
Because is it a reflection on them?
I don't know. I have no clue. I honestly have no idea.
What part of your success do they want for you? Not for the sake of yourself, but for the sake of them telling their friends and family, like, oh, my kids are successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing.
What's my friend as a parent? Like, what are my friends and family gonna think of my kid if he has long hair?
Yeah.
Does that make you a bad person? No, it doesn't. But why is it so hard for them to understand that?
I don't know. And like that goes back to like what you were saying earlier about like just like expecting more and like wanting more. It's just like, can you just like see this from my side for like a minute? Just like, how about 2 seconds? Just 2 seconds.
Just sit with it, right?
Yeah, but no, that's always like the hard part, right? Like is like you when you talk to your parents and like they just don't really have that interest, and like then you sort of like lose faith, like confidence in yourself. Like that's something that like I think maybe we've never talked about, but definitely I've been thinking about it, mulling it over, and realizing it more and more, is that like, because like
I know it's possible.
We look to our parents as like reflections of our productivity or of our growth and that sort of thing. Sometimes like when we're brought up at a young age, like that's just kind of what you do, right? You do things because you want to make your parents happy. And as you grow older, when you do more things like where you don't get any sort of response, or even if like it is what they like and you still don't get any response, you feel like none of the actions
less than.
Yeah, like none of the actions that you're doing just have any real like meaning, or you're like sort of like cut off from that emotional connection, and you feel less safe to like connect with them or bond with them, and like that just like stretches that distance even further. And so like sometimes like it could just be like they're tired and we didn't even realize it, but because we've already had this experience of like they're just so far removed, we're like unwilling to take a step back a bit, and we're just stuck like thinking like, I just told you about like I want to get married, I'm gonna engage, and like you don't even have the attention span to give it to me, like it just is just compounding of like years and years of just like they could just be tired and we're not realizing it, and they don't realize like because they're tired, like we're upset, and just like
I feel like my parents, their main purpose in life was to give everything and sacrifice everything for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so when all your eggs are in that basket of your kids, you're hurt if your kids aren't meeting your expectations.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's just like, even as that kid, I mean, I wonder, like, did you have someone, maybe friends in your life or other family members, that helped you navigate doing stuff for your own happiness rather than, appeasing anyone else?
I think I had to figure that out on my own. Growing up, I was the youngest in the entire family, and
like out of the cousins too.
Yeah,
same.
So I definitely like had a lot of free time to myself after my parents had like moved to our separate house and everything like that. So we used to live in the same building as my cousins,
nice.
And then we moved away. I definitely had the most amount of time to like just be with myself, because my parents weren't home, and I would just come home after school, and that would be it. My grandparents lived with us, but I didn't really develop a very, very deep relationship with them, or I didn't really spend a lot of time after school with them. So I got to really learn how to be someone who fawned for people's attention, and then learning to not be that person anymore, essentially.
What was the feedback when you were doing that?
Like, I think like
you're trying too hard, or?
Yeah, I think even now, like, there is still like glimpses and segments of that, but I think it's a lot more genuine now than anything. Like, I do mean like what I say, but I don't know. I think like it's like being a pushover, right? Essentially, like doing things for people, or like like just wanting to
just have no expectations when you do it.
Yeah.
Do it for the sake of doing it, right? You're not doing it because you're going to be left out to dry if you have a certain expectation and they're not reciprocating.
Yeah. So I think like a lot of that, like I like wanted to like give people things like a lot, and I really wanted to like give like everything to them, because I would expect them to like give something back in return. Like that was, I think, like what I used to grow up like thinking, and that sort of thing. And then I like had to grow out of that and learn how to like, no, like that's just not how that works, homie. Yeah, it was a lot of like I was able to just like grow and figure out like at the end of the day, like the you can do things for other people and hope to God that they're going to love you for it, or you could just be yourself and then let people like you for that.
And when you discovered that, did new people come out of the woodwork and find you and appreciate you for who you are?
I think so. Yeah. I think there are definitely people that have like let me know that they have gravitated towards like the kind of confidence that I have in myself. Like I think that people have told me that before. Like I really find that you believe in yourself, and that's really cool. But I don't personally really see it. So yeah,
I see it. I think it comes with time and experience, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just like,
because it's not something you talk about. It's something you embody.
I guess
right.
So, yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be just a dick if you're just talking about how confident you are, and it's just something you just in your actions.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's, as you can see, I'm still on that journey, trying to figure it out, and trying to like put the words to the experiences that I have. But overall, like I think like through having all of that alone time and not being able to receive that kind of connection with someone, and figuring out how to connect with myself instead, that's definitely like given me the time to figure out a lot more of my emotions, and maybe at least like do things a little bit more mindfully of like myself and like what it means to me, even if it doesn't please anybody else.
That's hard, because there's always a small part of you that's like, especially your parents, like I want to please my parents.
Yeah, and like as artists, right, like that's one of the barriers that we always have to get over, is that like we always want the art to look good to someone or something.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, if this is your livelihood and this is how you make money, I mean other people do have to kind of like it,
Something that I've been struggling with, like as like a sports photographer, like budding sports photographer, right? Like you say like my photos are very crisp, they're really sharp, and like I'll be culling photos and like I'll be looking at them, and it's like if it's not tack sharp, I'm like, oh god, I gotta sacrifice this photo. But like this past year, I've been more like embracing the blur. Yeah, so like,
or the happy accidents,
photos that are just like not quite there in terms of like sharpness or anything, but like it really like encompasses or the emotion, the feeling, right, of the emotion and everything that was there, the intensity and that sort of thing. I think a lot of the photographers that I've been following have also encouraged a lot of that. So like seeing like work that looks like that.
When you're doing that, are you doing a shutter drag, or what are you doing?
Yeah, just doing a pan. Just
a pan. I've never tried that.
No?
It looks good. It's really cool. Is it like 1/30 or 1/50 or?
I shoot pretty fast still, but depends on like the race, right? Like
because they're going fast.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes I'll go down. Like some people are crazy and they go down to like 1/50, and I don't know. I think that's crazy.
I mean, that's what we do for weddings, for like receptions and stuff. So you get like the lights like dragging, but you capture their motion.
Yeah. Right. To get it that crisp and that sharp, going that slow is really can be challenging.
Sure.
Because you have to be tracking them pretty spot on for all that time.
The portrait should at least probably be 1/125 or 1/250. What's your shutter speed at then?
When I'm shooting races and I'm trying to do the pan like that, I usually shoot at 1/160th of a second. That's where I feel most comfortable. Okay. That's where I usually get most of my shots, but definitely I do even do 1/200th of a second.
Okay.
So slow though, I have gotten like stopped down to like 1/60th of a second, and that's pretty fun to get those shots, because it's really like
there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, the blur is so good, like the motion blur is so good, and like depending on like what kind of angle it is, if it's like a dynamic one.
Are you doing manual focus? Because you gotta like focus.
Nope.
You're doing automatic focus? Because it's you gotta focus, pan, and I can't imagine how to get it so crispy.
The aperture is a little bit wider.
So
I shoot like at like what is it? Depending on how much sun there is, my ISO will be set wherever it's set at. But I like to set my aperture as high as it can go. Right? Like 8 is always a very, very comfortable one. But ultimately, like once it gets down to like stadium lights and like it's kind of dark, I have no choice but to shoot like
lower or
wider. 4. Yeah, 4.
That's still not that bad. That's still really good. Okay.
Autofocus is crazy. Like it'll track anything.
Are you doing Sony, or what are you shooting at?
I shoot a Nikon D610.
Nice. Is that still the big boys, like big bodies?
It is a entry level full frame.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, these are my first like full frames, but they're mirrorless.
No, those such a good choice. I think mirrorless is so much more nice for the like travel photographer and
Lighter.
Yeah, I think it's just easier.
I mean, I like the feel of. I mean, I put a second like a double battery grip like on that one. I like that feel of it too. So I do like the feel of the big bodies. To bring it full circle, how are there? Because I know someone that started their own cycling group because they maybe weren't feeling as inclusive in the brown and black community.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? Is it pretty kind of segregated or separated, or is it pretty inclusive? And everyone has their own experience, right?
Yeah. It depends. Like, if they were already a part of like a BIPOC like cycling group, and then they didn't feel like included in that group, I don't see that is an issue. Like, I mean, it doesn't always have to be like, I think it depends on how we're viewing why they felt.
That's true.
Like how they felt left out, or it could be like the team is still fine, but we just wanted our own thing. Some people want a smaller group or something like that. But in terms of inclusivity, I think that everybody tries their best at the end of the day, because everybody just wants more cycling friends,
just to ride,
just to ride with, and nobody really wants to be mean to one another.
Yeah,
I think might just be like communication, like miscommunication. Like I feel like it's always like one person didn't say what they wanted to say or something like that. It can always be really, really hard with these sorts of things.
Are there certain groups, not necessarily racially, but that might have not as much access to biking? Yeah,
I definitely think like to be a black and brown rider in the city of Chicago, or in general, it's hard because like you don't see many people that look like you in the pro races and that sort of thing, and like especially for black men that are trying to ride bikes, like even just black and brown men in general who bring nice bikes into a bike store and getting those looks of like, is that even your bike? That sort of thing. Like, that can always be really, really tough. Like that's a shitty one.
Sure.
And like going to that, like when we're talking about like stolen bikes, right, in a store, like you can't always assume that like a brown boy with a black or brown boy with a nice bike is stolen. Like that's right. So like these are things that I think like are definitely things that the cycling industry in general, like across like every shop, small shops, big shops, that sort of thing, can always get better on. Small like microaggressions like that, you don't always like think about, or you don't always take into account. But yeah, I think being a black and brown cyclist can be very, very hard, because it's already like you already feel like the animosity towards you as a person, but then like you compound that with being a cyclist on the road, like then you feel like kind of sometimes even less than. So it's nice to see like people that look like you riding in the same group, and if you want to develop like a smaller group that of just black and brown riders, that's totally fine. I think that's totally great. Gives you like your own little corner, your own little
space.
Does
that not feed into what is the problem, or I'm just playing devil's advocate?
No, that's totally okay. I think that's totally fine. Like I think like if I were someone that just didn't understand, like it's hard because like I'm also a minority, right? Like so I'm like, oh, I don't want to be excluded, but there are groups that are like black and brown only, and there are like no Asians in there, and would I feel upset? Like no, because I understand that there are nuances that like I don't understand as a specifically East Asian who is like semi like white passing, right? Like that sort of thing. Like there are hardships that I'll never have experienced, so like to feel left out of that, like it's kind of like unwarranted.
Okay.
So
don't take it personally.
So like as the person that like the outsider looking in, like, oh, that's just segregation, like that sort of thing. Like, I mean, it's not really against you. Like, just don't try not to take it personally. It's not like they don't like you. That's not at all. It's like they probably are just want.
I mean, and devil's advocate, one can say that about the group that made it, right? The person that made that group. Don't take it personally. I don't know. It's just it's an interesting cycle.
Yeah. And like it's hard, right, to like clicks, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like it can always, a drama can always happen. But I think like as long as we're just putting our best foot forward with the best intentions, you know, it can really just be just everyone just wants to ride bikes. Everyone just wants to ride bikes.
What's next? If you're thinking about it, what do you think you want to do in the next couple of years?
Definitely just keep moving along in the cycling industry, introducing more and more people to bikes. Like I think so crit racing is becoming more and more popular in America, and so it'd be nice to take more photos of that. But ultimately, I don't know. I'm excited to see like where the industry goes. The technology is always really cool to watch grow.
In what sense? What do you mean?
Just like different applications of technology from mountain bikes have now like bled into road bikes, and then now like seeing like different things like over the years, like I've seen stuff like
gear shifters, or what do you mean?
Mm-hmm. Hydraulic brakes, like disc brakes, used to be like a mountain bike only thing, and now they've transferred into road bikes.
Oh,
yeah. But like, yeah, just seeing like all these like new components coming out, seeing like what new creative ways that people are repurposing old bikes, like older mountain bikes now are getting repurposed into all of these like crazy fun commuters, and like, you know, alt bikes, alt racing, like racing that's not about going the fastest, you know, like ultra endurance stuff. Like the world of biking is so massive in like terms of like what kind of biking you want to do, or what kind of cyclist you want to be, and like that sort of thing. I don't know.
Where do you feel the most high, or where do you find yourself in a state of flow where time disappears? Is it any time you're on a bike? Probably
as of lately, probably like at the bike park.
Mm.
I've definitely been working on trying to like get my jumps in, and that's like it. It's just like working over a problem over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and like approaching it slightly differently every time until you get it perfect.
Okay.
I would say it's like
there's more to it than just going fast.
More to it than just going fast. Significantly more to it than going fast. Yeah. No, and that's the best part, right? Is that like you when you have been so used to tackling a problem in a certain way, then when you're forced to approach it in a different way, you know, you learn so much more, and like all of that always just translates to later like exploration on like different trails and different paths, like bike handling, that sort of thing. I mean, of course we can always relate that to like life, but yeah, it's like different ways to really challenge your bike control. Jumping like sort of like helps cover that ground for me as of late, and so something to focus on as a human. Like it's been really good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
I mean, it's also to look really cool. So,
Eric, that's all I had for you, buddy. Yeah,
this has been so much fun.
Heart to hearts. If you're open to it, where can people find you? Yeah,
so like I said, I work at the Bike Lane up in Logan Square. You can follow my Instagram, tmj96.photo, if you want to follow more of my photography. You'll find a lot of like local racing, so I do a lot of tracks or velodrome photography up in Northbrook. The Ed Rudolph Velodrome. Super fun. Happens every Thursday during the summer season. So you'll find a lot of photos there. Otherwise, you'll also see some more like road crit racing. You'll see some of my work over at Short Track when that happens.
Are any of these printed in the shop?
No, I don't have any of my photos printed in the shop.
Come on.
No, I'm bad at choosing my best shots. So I don't know. One of these days I will definitely get something printed out. I think I want one of my series that these like manga panel like collage thing
Sure.
that I've been putting together. I'm really into those. So maybe I'll put to like edit, splice like a manga page, and then use that and print that out. But
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.